Welcome back to Hawley Music Studios. Every song has a story behind it, but sometimes a song becomes part of a story you could never have anticipated when you began writing it. This is the story behind The Sea Chose Me, and a man I knew only as Doc. I first spoke to Doc after he left a comment on my song, The Weight of Command. He wrote, I've been a cargo ship captain for 46 years. This song is absolutely awesome. Keep up the good work. Obviously, that meant a lot to me coming from a man with that experience. I replied from the heart and sent him a link to another maritime song I'd written called The Captain. Doc listened to this song as well and came back with a message that changed everything. He said to me, You were right, my friend. I did enjoy this song. It almost made me tear up. Then Doc went on to give me a brief overview of his life. My career is coming to an end at the end of the year due to age and medical reasons. I'm 76 years old and I was diagnosed with lung cancer 2 months ago. He went on to say a little background about me if you're interested. I joined the Navy in 1968 as an FMF corpsman, a combat medic assigned to the Marine Corps. I only served 4 years and did 3 tours in Vietnam. I was discharged from the Navy in 1972 and became a merchant seaman. I was a deckhand for 3 years and eventually became a third mate, a second mate, a first mate, and eventually a captain in 1980. My crew is young enough to be my kids and grandkids. I've seen a lot over the years, but I guess it's time to hang it up now. I didn't realise at this point just how unwell Doc was. He never complained, and he certainly didn't make a big deal out of it. He spoke about retiring at the end of the year, so I believe there was still plenty of time ahead of him. But something inside me said, I have to write this, and I have to do it now. And I still don't know why. Everything else I was working on seemed to just fade into the background noise. All I could think about was this man's life on the sea and trying to put words around it that would honour him. Then the movie starts playing in my head, and that was it. The lyrics just came. Doc had given me an incredible story to tell, so thanks to him, it wasn't difficult to write. I could see a young man joining the Navy, perhaps never imagining where that first step would lead him. But once he went to sea, the sea had him for life. Before I wrote anything, I asked Doc for permission to tell his story. And this is the reply that he sent me. He said, I would be absolutely honoured if you wrote a song about it, my friend. I'd love to hear it. The truth is, I was the one who felt honoured. This man was trusting me with the story of his life and was allowing me to turn it into a song. For me, that's a very big deal. I wrote the song, recorded it, and sent it to Doc as a private link before I published it. After he heard it, he wrote me a note and he said, Wow, you did a fantastic job of painting this story, my friend. I really appreciate all of your hard work and effort. Thank you so much for sharing this with me, and I'll definitely be sharing this with my crew. Now, I'm not going to lie, when I read that, I was pretty emotional. Knowing that Doc believed I'd done justice to his story meant a great deal to me. But what really hit me came next. Doc's granddaughter, Mariah, heard the song and left me a comment. And she said, Thank you so much for this tribute to my grandfather. You are freaking awesome. That reached somewhere inside me I wasn't expecting. I wrote a song some time ago for my own grandfather who passed away, and we were very close. When I read Mariah's comment, I saw a girl who loved her grandfather the way I love mine. The way she felt about the song told me that I'd given her something special. And as a songwriter, you simply can't ask for more than that. But what Mariah probably doesn't realise is that her comment gave me just as much as my song gave her. That same day, I also heard from Jacob. Jacob is Doc's second mate. By then, I suppose Doc had shared the song with his family, his friends, and his crew, and Jacob was an absolute champion. He told me things about Doc that Doc would never have told me himself. I'd like to give you verbatim what Jacob wrote. Doc is my captain. He shared this song with me earlier. I'm his second mate. I've been with him since I was 21 years old and green. I'm now 40. I did a lot of stupid shit when I was younger and got into some trouble, but the old man gave me a chance when no one else would. He's a good and fair man, but boy, can he jerk a knot out of your ass if it's needed. I've been on the receiving end of an ass chewing many times when I got too big for my britches. The song's amazing, bro. Cap's become like a father to me over the years. I'm sad that he's retiring soon, but he's earned it and deserves to rest. I doubt I'll ever have another captain like him, though. He's not an armchair captain. He still gets out on deck and works with his guys often. He has taught us never to forget where we came from. And to be honest, when I read that, I wondered whether my song had said enough about Doc. But I came to understand that Doc didn't want to be seen as some kind of hero. He wasn't a man who wanted to hear his own praise. He was simply a good man. He gave a chance to a young bloke when no one else would. He taught him, corrected him when he needed it, and helped shape the man he became. And 19 years later, Jacob was still standing beside him as his second mate. Doc didn't lead from an armchair. He went out on deck and worked alongside his crew. He taught them never to forget where they came from. Sadly, I never had the chance to speak to Doc again. 3 days after we released The Sea Chose Me, I woke one morning and found another comment from Jacob beneath the song. It said, "Rest in peace, Captain. You'll be missed by all of us." At first, I didn't believe what I was reading. Doc had never let on how sick he was. He was supposed to retire at the end of the year, so part of me simply refused to accept it. Then the reality began to arrive. He had told me about his lung cancer. He had told me he hadn't been well. And then unexpectedly, grief came from out of nowhere, and I cried. I thought about Mariah, his family, his crew, and this man had quietly changed the lives of other people. I replied to Jacob and asked what it now feels like a stupid question. I asked if he meant Doc. I think part of me was desperately hoping Jacob would reply with, "Nah, mate, this is another captain we knew who loved your song." Instead, Jacob replied with the one thing I didn't want to hear. And he told me that, yes, Doc had passed away and that he wasn't doing well in the weeks leading up to his passing. I didn't know Doc for very long. We lived on opposite sides of the world, and our paths crossed only because he happened to find one of my songs. But in that brief time, he trusted me with his story. And something told me not to wait, to stop everything else and write this song immediately. I still don't know where that urgency came from, but I'm so grateful that I listened. Doc got to hear his song. He knew someone had listened to his story and believed his life was worth singing about. He shared it with his family, his friends, and his crew. His granddaughter heard it, his second mate heard it. And for 3 days before he passed, The Sea Chose Me belonged to Doc. This song was always going to be special to me because someone placed their trust in me to tell their story. But now it means something more. It is something the people who knew Doc and loved Doc can keep forever. And honestly, I have no words for what that means. I hope that when people hear Doc's song and learn something about the man behind it, they understand one simple thing. Not all heroes wear capes. Some of them quietly give a young man a chance when nobody else will. Some of them lead from the front and never forget where they came from. And some of them spend a lifetime at sea never asking to be called a hero at all. Fair winds and following seas, Doc. This is your song.